Family helps family, parents countered when I refused to give them my son's college fund. The next day, I received a call from my bank about attempted fraud. The sound of champagne glasses clinking should have been joyful. It wasn't. I watched my son Noah's face fall as my father's words hung in the air, those words that changed everything, those words that revealed who my parents truly were. "We've decided the college fund will go to your cousin Tyler instead," my father announced casually, as if discussing nothing more important than the weather. "He needs it more." Noah's graduation dinner, his celebration, the culmination of 4 years of sleepless nights, academic excellence, and dreams of university, all shattered with a single sentence. My chest tightened, my vision narrowed to my son's devastated expression, 18 years old, just a boy still, his future dangling by threads my parents seemed eager to cut, but my husband Daniel touched my hand under the table, a gentle squeeze, a silent message. "Actually," Daniel said, his voice steady despite the fury I knew was building inside him, "we've already moved Noah's college fund to a new account. Last month." The sudden silence felt electric, dangerous. My mother's perfectly lined lips parted in shock. My father's face turned an alarming shade of red. "You did what?" he demanded, setting down his wine glass with enough force to slosh liquid onto the pristine white tablecloth. "We moved it," I repeated, finding my voice. "We had a feeling something like this might happen." The truth was, we'd suspected for months. Little comments, pointed questions about the account details, my mother's sudden interest in Tyler's college prospects despite his mediocre grades and disciplinary issues. "That money was meant for family," my mother hissed. "Noah is family," I countered. "Tyler has had it rough," my father insisted. "His father left, his mother works 2 jobs, Noah has advantages." "Noah has us." Parents who saved for his education instead of buying luxury cars and taking Mediterranean cruises every summer. Parents who prioritized his future over appearances. The restaurant suddenly felt suffocating, too bright, too public for this family implosion. Noah pushed back his chair, his hands trembled slightly. "May I be excused?" he asked, his voice carefully controlled. I nodded, watched him walk away with shoulders squared against a betrayal he couldn't possibly have anticipated. The argument that followed was ugly. Accusations of selfishness and entitlement flung across appetizers that grew cold, my parents dismissing Noah's future as if it were inconsequential. "Noah earned that money," Daniel said quietly, dangerously. "Every penny was set aside by us, not you," my mother scoffed. "Don't you remember the $2,000 we contributed when he was born?" $2,000, against the nearly $150,000 we'd saved. A drop in the bucket they now claimed entitled them to redirect the entire ocean. We left before the main course arrived, paid the bill, drove home in a silence punctuated only by my occasional sobs, if only it had ended there. The calls began the next morning, my mother's voice honey-sweet with concern, wondering if we'd calmed down yet, if we were ready to be reasonable. "Noah doesn't need all that money," she insisted. "You're being selfish, Tyler has nothing." My hands trembled as I held the phone. "It's Noah's money, we saved it for him." "Family helps family," she countered. "Your father and I have always taught you that." The guilt trips intensified. Daily calls, text messages, emails filled with thinly veiled accusations. "You always were the difficult one. I guess we raised you to be selfish after all." Tyler cried when we told him. "Is that what you wanted?" Each message a dagger, each call leaving me drained and doubting. Had I somehow missed the lesson that family meant sacrificing my child's future for my cousin's son? Then came the flying monkeys, aunts, uncles, family friends suddenly deeply invested in my parenting decisions. "Your mother's heartbroken," my aunt said during an unexpected visit. "Surely you can compromise, maybe split the money." My cousin texted, "You always got everything growing up. Tyler deserves this one thing." Even our neighbor, who'd known my parents for decades, stopped me outside the grocery store. "Sometimes we need to consider others before ourselves, dear." The pressure built, crushing, suffocating, every interaction leaving me more uncertain, more off balance. Daniel remained my anchor. "They're manipulating you," he reminded me each night. "Noah worked for this, he earned it, don't let them make you doubt that." But the doubt crept in anyway, slithering through cracks in my confidence. Maybe I was being selfish, maybe family did mean sacrifice. 3 weeks after the graduation dinner, my father changed tactics. The guilt transformed into honeyed promises. "We've been thinking," he said over coffee at the local diner. "What if we contribute to Noah's fund too? Add another 5,000, then you could give half to Tyler. Everyone wins." The offer felt like progress, like compromise. I almost said yes, but something in his expression stopped me, a calculating look I'd seen before but never fully acknowledged. "I need to discuss it with Daniel," I said instead. His smile tightened. "Your husband doesn't control you, does he?" Another manipulation, another attempt to divide and conquer. I left the diner with coffee untouched, heart racing, something fundamental shifting in my understanding of who my parents truly were. Daniel and I agreed to stand firm. The money would stay with Noah, all of it. That's when the mask dropped completely. The next morning, I received a call from our bank. Someone had attempted to access Noah's original account. Someone claiming to be me, my own mother, using my maiden name, my birth date, trying to convince the teller she was me. Fraud. They'd actually attempted fraud. My hands shook so badly I could barely call Daniel. My breath came in shallow gasps that left me lightheaded. "I never thought they'd go this far," I whispered when he arrived home. "Never." But the new account was secure, our money, Noah's future was safe for now. The cease and desist letter came next. Not a full lawsuit yet, but the threat clearly implied. Their attorney claiming that their substantial contribution to the college fund meant they had a right to direct where it went, demanding mediation, demanding compromise. We hired our own lawyer, spent money we couldn't really spare to protect money Noah had earned. The mediation was a farce. My parents sitting across the conference table, faces set in expressions of wounded righteousness. Their lawyer arguing that verbal agreements had been made, that the money had always been family money, not specifically earmarked for Noah. "Lies upon lies, we're prepared to settle," their lawyer offered magnanimously. 60% to Tyler, 40 to Noah. "My clients are being more than generous." My laugh bordered on hysterical. "Generous with stolen money." The mediator suggested we take time to consider, to cool down, to remember that family relationships were more important than money. But this wasn't about money anymore. It was about trust, about betrayal, about the realization that my parents would sacrifice their grandson's future without hesitation. We rejected the settlement, prepared for court. That's when they escalated again. An anonymous tip to the IRS, allegations of unreported income, questions about the source of Noah's college fund. Our accounts frozen, all of them, not just the college fund but our checking account, our savings, everything. Noah's first semester tuition due in 3 weeks, his scholarship contingent on the remaining balance being paid on time. My stomach knotted with nausea, my hands cold with fear. What if he lost his placement, his scholarship, the opportunity he'd worked so hard to secure? The audit dragged on, days stretching into weeks. Noah growing quieter, more withdrawn, the sparkle of anticipation in his eyes dimming with each passing day. "Should I defer?" he asked one night, his voice small in the darkness of our kitchen. "Maybe work for a year until this gets sorted out." My heart shattered, splintered into jagged pieces that cut with every breath. "No," Daniel answered firmly when I couldn't speak past the lump in my throat. "We'll figure this out, I promise." We took out a loan against our house, paid the tuition, watched Noah pack for college with relief shadowed by uncertainty. What if the audit found problems? What if we couldn't access his fund for future semesters? What if this was just the beginning of a longer campaign to punish us for defying my parents? It was my sister who finally called to warn me, drunk and guilty and tired of the manipulation. "They're obsessed," she slurred over the phone. "They've always favored Tyler, always. They've been promising him that money for years." While Noah studied, while he maintained his 4 GPA, while he volunteered and worked part-time and believed his grandparents were proud of him, they'd been plotting to give it all to his cousin. The knowledge burned like acid, corroding what remaining trust I had in my parents, in my own childhood memories. Had anything been real, or had it all been conditional on my compliance? The IRS eventually cleared us, our accounts unfrozen, the college fund intact. But the damage was done. Noah's first semester marred by stress and uncertainty, his trust in family fractured in ways that might never fully heal. And Tyler had been watching, learning, absorbing the toxic lesson that he was entitled to take what belonged to others. It started with texts, messages to Noah filled with entitlement and resentment. That money was supposed to be mine. You think you're better than me, Grandpa says you stole from me. Then phone calls in the middle of the night, hang-ups when Noah answered, heavy breathing when he didn't. I wanted to intervene, to shield my son from this new torment, but Noah, stronger than I'd realized, handled it himself. I blocked his number, he told me during a weekend visit home, and his social media, he can't reach me anymore. Pride mingled with grief. My son shouldn't have had to fortify himself against family, but Tyler wasn't done. He showed up at Noah's dorm one afternoon, waited outside his economics class, followed him to the campus coffee shop. Where's my money? He demanded, loud enough for other students to turn and stare. My money, the money your parents stole from me. Noah, calm despite the ambush, stood his ground. It was never your money, Tyler, never. Grandpa says it was, says your parents are thieves. My son, my 18-year-old son who should have been focused on calculus and campus activities and finding his path, looked his cousin in the eye. Then Grandpa lied to you, just like he's been lying to all of us. Tyler shoved him, hard enough to send Noah stumbling back against a table, hard enough to spill coffee across notes and textbooks, hard enough to earn himself a campus security escort and a trespassing warning. Noah called that night, voice steady but edged with something new, something harder. Tyler came by today, he said casually, too casually. My breath caught, heart hammering against my ribs. Are you okay? My fingers clutched the phone with white-knuckle force. I'm fine, he assured me. Nothing happened, not really. But something had happened, something significant enough that campus security had been involved, something my son wanted to minimize to protect me from worry. My mind spun with terrible possibilities, with thoughts of restraining orders and school transfers and security systems. Noah, if you don't feel safe, I'm fine, Mom, he interrupted. Really, Tyler's all bark, no bite, but I knew better, knew that entitlement and resentment could ferment into something dangerous, something unpredictable. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night, ordinary until it wasn't. The sound of breaking glass downstairs, Daniel grabbing the baseball bat we kept in our closet, me calling 911 with shaking fingers. And there, in our living room, stood Tyler, 19 years old, glassy-eyed with alcohol and entitlement, a crowbar in his hand. Where's my money? He slurred, swaying slightly. Grandpa said it's mine, said you stole it. My blood turned to ice water in my veins, my breath coming in shallow, insufficient gasps. This wasn't just about money anymore, this was danger, real and immediate and terrifying. Daniel kept his voice level, soothing, as if talking to a spooked animal. Tyler, put down the crowbar. Whatever you've been told, breaking in here won't solve anything. Grandpa said you'd say that, said you've been hoarding the money, that I deserve it more than Noah. The police came, Tyler went to jail. My parents bailout him out the next morning. I confronted them in their driveway that afternoon. The suburban quiet a stark contrast to the tornado inside me. Why? I demanded, my voice breaking. Why would you do this to Noah? My mother looked through me as if I were glass. Tyler needed it more. You encouraged him to break into our house. He could have hurt someone. He could have hurt Noah. My father stepped forward, finger pointed at my face like I was still a child to be scolded. If you'd just given the money like you were supposed to, none of this would have happened. That's when I knew some breaks can't be repaired, some betrayals cut too deep. I don't want to see either of you again, I said, the words simultaneously devastating and liberating. Stay away from my family. My mother's expression hardened. You'll regret this. Blood is thicker than water. Poison is thicker than both, I replied. I walked away, from the house I grew up in, from the parents who had decided their grandson's future was currency to be redirected. Tyler came to see us 3 weeks later, sober, shaken by his night in jail, by the realization of how close he'd come to ruining his life. They told me the money was always meant for me, he admitted, unable to meet my eyes. That Noah didn't deserve it because he already had advantages, that it wasn't fair. And you believed them, he nodded miserably. I was stupid, drunk, angry about everything. They kept telling me how Noah had everything I didn't. I felt a flicker of pity beneath my anger. Tyler had been manipulated too, a pawn in whatever twisted game my parents were playing. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "really sorry." It wasn't enough to erase what had happened, but it was something, a small green shoot in scorched earth. Noah returned to college, the money, his money, intact. The IRS investigation closed, his future back on track, though shadowed by what had happened. Tyler enrolled in community college after getting sober. We helped him apply for financial aid, not because we owed him anything, but because breaking cycles requires someone to step off the wheel. My parents still send cards on birthdays and holidays. I return them unopened. Some betrayals can't be undone with Hallmark sentiments and shallow apologies. Daniel says I'll regret the estrangement someday, that I'll wish for reconciliation when it's too late. Maybe. But I don't regret protecting my son, don't regret showing him that family isn't about blood, it's about choice, about who earns the right to be in your life. Sometimes the greatest inheritance we can give our children is the willingness to break patterns, to say this stops here, this damage will not continue. Noah calls every Sunday from his dorm room, excited about classes, about friends, about a future unstolen. And in those moments, I know with absolute certainty that some prices are worth paying, that sometimes walking away isn't giving up. My mother sent a letter last month, forwarded through my sister, 3 pages of justifications and half apologies that never quite acknowledged the magnitude of what they'd done. We only wanted what was best for the family. Family, as if that word could excuse every betrayal, every manipulation, every attempt to steal my son's future. I burned the letter in our fire pit, watched the pages curl and blacken and disappear. Daniel found me there, staring into the embers. "You okay?" he asked, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders against the autumn chill. Was I? The answer wasn't simple. I missed the parents I thought I had, the ones who took pictures on Noah's first day of kindergarten, who attended his little league games and science fairs. But those people were illusions, masks worn by strangers willing to destroy their grandson's opportunities for reasons I still couldn't fully comprehend. "I'm getting there," I answered finally. "The healing isn't linear. Some days I'm fine, strong in my boundaries, certain in my decisions. Other days grief ambushes me in the cereal aisle or while folding laundry. Grief not for what I lost, but for what was never real to begin with." Tyler is doing better, 6 months sober now, working part-time and studying business administration. He calls occasionally, careful to respect boundaries, never asking for more than we're willing to give. My sister wavers between support and enabling our parents, trapped in familial dynamics too tangled to easily escape. "They're getting older," she reminded me last week. "They won't be around forever, true, but their eventual absence doesn't obligate me to endure their presence now." Noah came home for Thanksgiving, confident in a way he wasn't before. College suits him, freedom suits him. He asked about his grandparents once, just once, over pumpkin pie and coffee. "Do you think they'll ever understand what they tried to do?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. I considered lying, considered offering the platitudes adults often give children to soften life's harder edges. Instead, I gave him truth. "Probably not. Some people can't see past their own justifications." He nodded, thoughtful. "I'm glad you and Dad protected me, not just the money, but from believing I deserved what they tried to do." My throat tightened. My brilliant, perceptive son who understood more than I'd realized. "We'll always protect you," Daniel promised. Always. Spring came, Noah's freshman year nearly complete, Tyler 6 credits away from his associate's degree. Life continued. Healing continued, not in straight lines but in spirals that sometimes brought pain closer before spinning it away again. I received a voicemail from my father yesterday, his first direct contact in over a year. "Your mother is sick," he said, his voice thinner than I remembered. "Cancer, stage 3, she's asking for you." My finger hovered over the delete button, trembled there with indecision. Was this real or another manipulation, a genuine plea or a calculated strategy to breach the boundaries I'd established? I didn't know, couldn't know. Daniel found me on the back porch, phone clutched in my hand, tears streaming unchecked down my face. "What happened?" he asked, kneeling before me. I played the message for him, watched his expression shift from concern to wariness. "What do you want to do?" he asked finally, such a simple question with such a complicated answer. What did I want? To believe my mother's illness might create an opening for genuine reconciliation, to maintain the protective distance that had brought us peace, to find some middle path that acknowledged both the broken past and uncertain future. "I don't know," I whispered, the truth unvarnished and insufficient. Daniel nodded, squeezed my hands in his. "You don't have to decide right now," he said, "or ever if that's what feels right." That night I called my sister, confirmed our mother's diagnosis, not a manipulation then, but reality. "She's scared," my sister said. "She wants to make amends before," her voice trailed off, the unspoken before it's too late hanging between us. I closed my eyes, remembered the months of guilt tripping, the legal threats, the IRS investigation that nearly cost Noah his scholarship. The night Tyler broke into our home with a crowbar fueled by my parents' lies. "I need time," I said finally. Time to process, to decide whether I could face my mother without reopening wounds barely healed, whether reconciliation was possible or merely another avenue for pain. Noah called that evening, excited about a research opportunity for the summer, his voice bright with possibilities. I didn't mention my mother's illness, didn't cloud his success with family shadows. There would be time for those conversations later if necessary. After we hung up, I sat in the darkness of our backyard, stars scattered overhead like spilled salt. The same stars my mother had once taught me to identify, the same stars that would continue long after all our human dramas had played out. Perspective arrived slowly. Privately, my mother's illness didn't erase what she had done, didn't automatically entitle her to forgiveness or reconciliation. But it did place a timeline on whatever choices I made, did establish parameters around opportunities that might otherwise seem infinite. I still don't know what I'll do, whether I'll visit, what boundaries I'll establish if I do. But I know this: whatever choice I make will be mine, not driven by obligation or guilt or familial expectations, not haunted by should or must or expected. Mine, ours, the family we've chosen to be. That's the inheritance I want to leave Noah, the knowledge that he has choices, that he deserves relationships built on mutual respect and genuine love. That family isn't a prison sentence but a privilege earned through consistent care. Tomorrow I'll decide about my mother, about whether to visit, about what that might mean for our future, but tonight I'll sit with the stars, with the knowledge that some questions don't have perfect answers. With the understanding that healing isn't about finding those perfect answers. It's about finding peace within the questions themselves. Peace in knowing that whatever path I choose, it will be mine, chosen with clarity and intention rather than obligation. That's freedom. That's growth. That's the true inheritance worth passing down.